Broadcasting from the jungles of Southeast Asia, it is time for the Ed Namrock Podcast.
And we are live. So we ran into, as usual, which it's no big deal, with tonight's guest, Kristian Jackman. He's having trouble with his browser, which is totally fine. Things happen. I'm trying to troubleshoot him, and you are going to watch me do it as I'm on camera to help him do it. Now, this is kind of... actually, I'll take the time, talk to you about this because this is important, and it's funny that this would happen to Kristian. When you use a browser, for example, Chrome, and listen up, all you homeschoolers, all of you distance learning peeps right now that are going through this. I'll use Chrome as an example, and bear with me because I'm also looking at my phone, making sure that I reply to him promptly because he's supposed to be on. There is a tiny little icon that looks like a lock on the upper left-hand corner, especially of the Chrome browser. And when you click on it, it gives you kind of like a little drop-down menu. And it says, like, it'll tell you if the connection is secure for the website. And what that means is all of your private information that's sent to the site is totally protected and encrypted, and nothing's going to get jacked. But it also has your camera, your microphone, your sound, and your automatic downloads and all that shit. Well, not always, but sometimes by default, the camera and microphone are blocked from access. They're blocked from accessing your browser. So you have to allow each item, you have to allow permission to actually work in your browser. So I'm pretty sure this is what Kristian is going through right now. Nonetheless, I haven't gone live since we talked about the different California propositions, and that was a couple of weeks ago. A lot has happened since then. We've had the Democratic National Convention. We've had the Republican National Convention. We've had the Jacob Blake murder. I'm going to call it a murder because the guy's dead. You shot him in the back. It's considered a murder if you ask me. Plain and simple. I've had my own opinions about this stuff. But truth of the matter is, nobody is winning in this situation, and it makes you contemplate, like, you know, this is the type of world that you have to raise kids in, and obviously, this kid. And bear with me here. I'll pause there. Hold on. Let me see. Microphone allow. Camera allow. Okay. So his settings are good. I'm going to tell him, check the StreamYard, because that's what I use. Settings that read cam mic to make sure they match what you are using on your laptop. All right, cool. Hopefully he can get on because he offers a lot of interesting perspective because I've known him for quite some time now. But back to raising kids in this environment, it's going to be interesting if you ask me. It's going to be very interesting. Wait, I got some comments. What's up, Edgar? I'm ready to listen to all the CDs. Damn, you went through them pretty quick. Very quick. What's up, Alejandro Allen? What's up, man? Sorry for the delay on the comments here because I'm troubleshooting here with a buddy of mine that's supposed to be on at the same time. Forgive me if I'm sweating. I'm drinking hot tea. It is Bigelow Mint Medley, caffeine free. I sweat when I drink a lot of hot drinks, especially soup. I don't know if you're the same, especially hangover pozole or menudo on Sundays. But hold on, give me a second here. No, it's free. Anyway, eventually, the stuff that's happening is gonna. Of course, it's not gonna just magically disappear. We're not living in a time where, like before, history is rewritten by the winners. And what I mean, the winners, I'm talking about the people who conquered whatever land they quote unquote discovered or, decided to waltz into. Hold on. Yeah, but do I need to create an account? No account needed. That's strange. Alex said something here. Good. Keep that throat clear with this virus around. Absolutely. And anyway, like all this social stuff that's happening too, COVID-19, all of the stuff you have to explain to your children when they're older, and eventually they're going to know about this, because this is in the history books officially. This is not going to, there's no way in hell they're going to make it disappear. They didn't make the Rodney King riots disappear. They didn't make Richard Nixon's Watergate scandal disappear. The Gulf of Tonkin, they wanted to make that one disappear, but it surfaced. Rampart Division in LA. Fuck no, we still talk about that to this day. And now this, there's a bunch of stuff. It started with the George Floyd thing in May. I mean, this stems back I was there for the 92 riots. And even before that, there was the Watts riots. I wasn't around then because I wasn't born yet. So obviously shit's been going on for a long time. So, and ain't shit changing. It's like, how are you going to tell your children, hey, there's some shit you got to know and you've got to be aware of, because who knows what's gonna make of all this from here on out. And that's what I'm waiting on. And I don't know if it's these people at the podiums that everyone worships or what, but to me, if you ask me, it's all the same shit. It's all the same shit. But let's see, Alex has a comment. If a 2020 movie is ever made, it's going to be a trip to see that. Absolutely. And it will probably be like a 3-hour movie. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Let me make sure Christian's doing okay here. If all else fails, you can open the link from your phone and your browser will let you use your camera and mic. Just use headphones. Headphones are very important. I know I'm jumping back and forth between two topics, but so I don't know. I mean, I've had a lot of friends reach out to me saying, "Hey, dude, media spins it this way, media spins it that way." Yeah, because that's their job. That's their job. And to me, this is my I guess 90s way of viewing media. I'm a little naive to it because 90s news media wasn't exactly meant to be taken too seriously. Because we had a president that, lied to all of us, got impeached because he got his dick sucked, and it was a different time. So, not too irrelevant now, but I don't know, man. I want to say I do know, but I don't. I know a lot of people say that, like, I don't know, because sometimes they truly just don't know, and that's a serious shit. Hopefully riots and people don't get offended if a 2020 movie is made, especially in the theater. Hold on, Kristian is telling me, okay, cool. He's going to restart his stuff. Anyway, 2012 was about the earth shifting and destroying the whole planet, starting out with earthquakes. Oh, God, you do not speak of earthquakes, Alex. You need to stop right now, okay? And then we got Marcus. Nalgon! Show me some tits, bro. Make this shit interesting. Fuck. You're the second person that's asked me to show my tits. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, man. I mean, it makes you wonder, like, and then I was reading some stuff about, and this is something I wanted to ask Kristian about once he tunes in, but they were basically they were called philosophical questions about human nature and the human condition. That hits home. It's thought provoking as fuck because it makes you think. And there was questions like, what harsh truths do you prefer to ignore? Remember, I read that one. And what harsh truth do I prefer to ignore? The fact that this country has owners. I repeat, the harsh truth that I prefer to ignore is that this country, the United States of America, has owners. Just like owners of property, like you buy your house and shit. This country has owners. I mean, there's only speculation for me as to who it might be or what, but I know this country is owned by someone. Someone owns it. It didn't just magically just assemble itself. No, there's either a coalition of people that assembled the entire thing, and they had all the resources in oil, for example, and technology, that they own the fucking country, man. That's a harsh truth that I prefer to ignore because I keep getting sweat in my eye. God damn it. Because it's true, man. I mean, there's a lot of videos on YouTube explaining that shit, and there's a ton of conspiracy videos talking about it. But if you ask me, a lot of the stuff is to divert you from what's really going on. And everyone says, no, that's the truth. And I'm like, just because it leaked out in the first place and you're reading it, you're already, it's a fish hook, dude. It's a fucking fish hook. They got you. And they're the ones doing the fishing. Sorry to say, but it's true. So there was that question. And, is there a meaning to life? If so, what is it? Well, here's the thing. The meaning to life for me personally is to build something. Sometimes you get other people whose perspective, the meaning of life is to destroy something. That shit makes total sense. The meaning of life to me is to build and not destroy. So that way you can give back to your personal tribe, and then the rest of the tribe that doesn't believe in destroying. that believe also in building. And is that the true meaning of life? No, I mean, the true meaning of life is to die. That's the true meaning of life. The true meaning of life is to be born, to die. I've accepted that. The true meaning of life is to be born and then to die. Because it's the inevitable. That's why you were born, to die. However, what you do in between that really distinguishes you as a person, as a humanitarian, as a Homo sapien, if you want to be scientifically correct. So, I mean, that I remember hearing this thing from Tony Robbins a while back, that the secret to living is giving. And it didn't make any sense to me like 15 years ago when I heard it. And when I saw the CEOs of Google do what they did, and they almost sold their technology. I remember that clearly because I saw it in a TED Talk and they talked about it. And this is a long time ago. If their idea was to invent the technology to sell it, then we wouldn't have what we have now, which is the go-to search engine of the world almost. I mean, there's other third-party, search engines that you use, but ultimately it's become a household thing. Like you can Google it. That alone, they made it a point. We're going to offer a service to you to help you. And who knows how many people they've helped, especially college students or high school students or students in general. Because as I used to call it, the information superhighway it's like it could take you to a whole different world. It can take you to a whole different level. It can take you to a whole different plateau that you've never even imagined seeing. Like, I'll give you an example. I've never been to Brazil, and I've only seen pictures of the Amazon forest. And Google Earth has an Amazon forest, like, I guess like a 3D thing, and it's pretty badass. And guess what? Kristian Jackman just joined me. Let me bring him in and see if I can hear him. Kristian, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Hold on, let me remove you and then put you back in. Maybe that'll help. Hold on. That. All right, say something. Are you using your interface? If you're using your interface, I believe you have to choose the interface in the StreamYard settings. So it should be there somewhere. Let me remove you and then put you back in, maybe. Let's see. Hold on. Back then for me, it was AOL search, dial up and shit. Of course, man. Let's see. Brazil, dog, I'm down. Brazilian babes and booty. All right, how about now, Chris? Kristian? Nothing? It's an audio interface you have it plugged into, right? So make sure the output of your Mac matches. All right, say something. Oh, a little bit more.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit more.
What about now?
Marvelous.
Yeah?
I was just talking about this whole troubleshooting thing that we're doing because, man, I kid you not, Kristian, every single household is going through that right now because of distance learning, man, and working from home. And I'll tell you this, I mean, because you're a fellow music producer too, man. Like doing remote sessions like this with recording, not good because it introduces a ton of latency, man. A ton. But hey, man, we had to run it back. Thanks for joining me again. It's been a while, man. So
how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I could be better. I mean, I got to get back on my diet. You know, my blood pressure's fucking floating around again.
Oh shit. Tell me about it.
Yeah, man. I started taking medication like when I was at SAE. And I'll give people a little bit of background as to how me and Kristian met. I used to work at an audio technology school, and I like to call it East Hollywood. Off of Santa Monica, Las Palmas, called SAE Institute of Technology, Los Angeles. And, you know, rest in peace to that campus because it got closed down last year. But Kristian was actually one of our students. And Kristian was actually part of a very, very unique cohort that was not supposed to happen. I mean, the cat's out of the bag. Everyone knows, but
we're a bunch of
yeah, it was funny because, you know, I was actually reminiscing about this shit too. I don't know if no, this is after your time actually. It's a guy named Frankie. He was one of the very last, we call him the last of the Mohicans, because they were the last graduating class of 2019. Like they were the last cohort to finish and then walk with everyone else in March. He was saying that with all this, I don't want to say marketing, but selling the LA dream, the Hollywood dream, and then seeing that campus that we were at was a total closer. I mean, but I wanted to ask you this. Now that I don't work there, I have a different job. It's been a long time. You're from New York, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Did you come to LA because of the school, or did you come to LA for a different reason? That's something I always ask people.
You know, I moved around a lot. I'm from New York, but before I lived in LA, I lived in Texas, and I moved here. You know, basically just chasing the dream like everybody else. And you know, forever, like family and friends have been trying to get me to go to music school or like some sort of you know audio engineering school. And you know, I just
why is that? Did they see something in you or what?
I guess so, man. I guess, but you know, it was really good advice. But at the time, I was kind of in the mindset, you know, like young rapper. I was just like, nah, that's not my job. Like, I'm not an engineer. I'm not a producer. You know, blah blah blah. I just want to.
You wanted to be a face. That's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, you know, and you know, looking back on it, you know, that was like the best thing that I could have done. You know what I'm saying? Because I always had problems. I guess just. You know, in the studio, trying to get what was in my head out and trying to have somebody else do that for you. You know?
Yeah, man, that's like 90% of us that go to audio school. So welcome to the club, man. And you did not blowing smoke up your ass, man, but the shit that you would do, the projects you would put out, man, I'm like, okay, I can vibe with this guy. This guy obviously has some type of, like, I remember you did that cover with your significant other playing cello, right?
Yeah.
It was damn, I forgot the name of the artist already.
London Beat.
London Beat. And the name of the single that they got famous for was
Thinking About You. I've been thinking about you.
I've been thinking about you. That one, yeah. But you put a different spin on it. Like it was like,
right.
I don't know. I still play it to this day, man. I'm just like, okay, I got to vibe with this right now because it was cool, man. And I know the song. I thought it was a different twist, but I'm like, I know he's got more than this in the pocket, man. I know he's got more.
Yeah, I used to like that song like when I was like 5 or something, you know what I'm saying? And I think I was making a beat or I was making a bass line, you know, when I first started producing during my time at SAE. And it kind of, I don't know why, it kind of made me think of that song, and I was like, let me see what I can do with this, you know what I mean? And I just kind of, you know, made it sound very, at the time it was 2017 or 2000, end of 2016.
What was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you left and came back for a minute there.
Yeah, I left for like 6 months and came back.
Yeah, because you enrolled in, was it September of 2016, I believe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then that little scuffle happened in the classroom.
Oh God! And
then I'm like, I thought for sure, man. I'm not dropping names, dude, but I'm like, oh man, Kristian's gonna light this dude up, and someone's gonna get in trouble. But luckily, it didn't happen, man. It didn't happen.
You know, and just looking back on it, I'm like, man, I'm too old to be out here scrapping with these, you know, with these young boys, man. I'm like, what am I doing? You know, but yeah, I'm from New York, man. You know what I'm saying? And you know, sometimes you just gotta slap a fool. You know.
I know. I felt it. I'm like, okay, dude. Like, I was right next to you. I'm like, okay, I know this dude over here is just barking, but Kristian's. He's postured up, ready to attack, and I'm like, oh fuck, this dude's gonna get lit up. I'm like, okay.
That shit was wild, man.
Yeah, and then the president of the company was right there. He's Australian, big dude. He's like, you need some help, mate? And I'm like, no, I got it. This is cool.
Whoa, the president of the company.
Yeah. Okay, I never told you that, but I guess the president of I guess the North American, not USA, SA USA. He's not there anymore.
Wow.
The Australian guy was on a visit at the campus when that whole shit went down. They heard the scuffle from the bottom of the classroom to the meeting room up top. Jeez. And they just saw my ass get up and scream down because Lance was waving me down.
That's all I remember. All I remember was you scooped me up and you was like running out the building. I was just like, man.
No, I'm like, shit was wild. No, I knew for a fact because Lance is like, get him because he's the one. He's the one that's not. He's the one that got fed up with this dude, and I'm like, who? And of course he pointed. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And I'm like, Kristian's gonna light this dude up, man. I'm like, oh. And from then on out, it was cool. I mean, I knew you were cool to get to begin with, but I got to admit, man, that cohort got off to like, I don't know what it was, man. It was like a really, really awkward start, but it was supposed to be a cohort that wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah. And what they were trying to do is I think they had hired an extra instructor and they wanted to fill in an extra class, and they just automatically just built a cohort out of it. But you guys had a really, really good instructor who was not supposed to be teaching, although he can, because he was basically writing the curriculum for the entire company. And that was Mr. Brian DeLisa.
Yeah, he was a good dude.
Yeah. He's probably one of the best teachers I've ever seen, but it's like, okay, he's too busy writing scripts. He's too busy writing curriculum. And I'm like, okay, that's where, you know, his pay grade is basically, that's what he's good at, but he's an amazing teacher. He's an amazing instructor, but nonetheless, I mean, you come to LA, pursue the dream. Let me ask you this question. I always ask people that are not, you know, obviously born here like I am. What was your first impression of LA people?
I mean, you know, when I first moved here, you know, I thought the people here were very friendly. You know.
Wow. Okay.
Well mannered.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. To be honest, you know, that was definitely my first impression. But you know, after being here for a while, I started to see what other people said, you know, about the people here in LA. Like, you know, you got your You have your what's the word they like to use? What's the word they like to call people out here? Pretentious. That's the word.
Pretentious. There's pretentious. There's riffraff. There's of course the gangbangers. There's of course the cholos. There's the paisas, which is like border brothers coming here to chase the dreams too. And then there's like people like us. We're born here. We're not.
Yeah.
We're like rocking a hard place. So like, okay, well, my mom's from Mexico, but I'm born and raised here. Yeah, I'm first generation, but I'm part of the school system. Mm-hmm. And I meet other people like you that are in the same boat. Like, oh yeah, I was born here. We're Americanized basically.
Right.
And sometimes it's like, okay, we get stuck kind of helping other people out because they're not familiar with how things are here. And it's funny you should say pretentious because you and I have driven rideshare you drove in longer, but I drove for about a year. And I always met people from New York. And the first thing I would always ask them is, how do you like taking a normal car to go to and from? And they're like, what do you mean, an Uber? An Uber.
An Uber.
Yeah. I'm like, because isn't it cabs and then in the L and then subway? He's like, yeah, or we just walk everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, they're like, well, this is for them, it was a little bit more luxurious too, because, the car is an actual car. It's air conditioned. But they talk so much smack about our food, man. So much smack. Like
about
until they taste the the stuff that is good in New York, even the stuff that's good in Texas, it's not that great here because we're really not known for that. We're known for tacos, pupusas, and even Chinese food. Yeah. We're more like West Coast,
Right.
But nonetheless, man, it's like, I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm sure you did because you lived in Texas. But do things move a lot slower here than they do in New York? The answer is yes, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Like, give me one example. You're like, what the fuck? Like, you guys do this way? Like, oh, okay.
I mean, it's not that much slower, because like I said, I've lived in, all over the country pretty much. So New York is very fast paced. Texas is very slow paced, and LA is kind of like right in the middle between those two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never had pupusas until I moved here, and I freaking love.
That's so good, but so bad for you, bro.
I love pupusas, man. That's my shit.
Yeah, man. It's. In your area, you probably have prime like people like making it from scratch, man. I mean, where I'm at, obviously I'm heavily, everything here is heavily Asian, so I'm spoiled by all the Asian food here.
Yeah.
And but I go down the hill, and it's like I kind of get the same luxurious kind of food that you get on that side of the freeway. Mm-hmm. But I kid you not, man. I've as a LA native, I say this: if you want real Latin American or Mexican food, it's not in LA. I've always told people that. They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, you got to go to North Hollywood. You got to go to Sherman Oaks. You got to go to where Balboa. You got to go to like 405 shit.
Yeah,
like." Out that way, and they're like, "Where's Lake Balboa?" I'm like, "It's go, keep going past Universal Studios." Yeah. But nonetheless, man, it's there's a reason why they set up shop there, because they know that there's a demographic that they're like, oh, they never tasted anything like this before, so that's how they get you. And but you've been in LA for how long now?
Man, I just hit 8 years This
8
month.
years, really?
Yeah, 8 years this month. Yeah.
Damn, you're officially LA
LA,
though.
yeah,
After
yeah.
after 3 years, you get climatized, and you're like, oh fuck that, I'm not going back. You're
Exactly.
like,
It's just
I
it's
mean,
flying, man. I don't feel like I've been here that long, but yeah, man.
yeah.
Yeah. It
So
goes
do
by.
you think that let me ask you this question, because I'm curious to get your answer. I mean, obviously 8 years ago was 2012. It was a whole 2012 thing, whatever. When did you feel like, okay, I belong here? I mean, obviously you came here, there's an adaptation, but then ultimately you reach a verdict. You're like, okay, I'm not going back. This is where I belong. Do you know that exact moment that happened?
I don't know. I don't know if that moment's ever happened, man. Like,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I don't necessarily feel like I belong here, but I don't necessarily feel like I don't belong here. I'm just, I'm here.
It's a lonely position, a neutral, basically.
Yeah.
Damn, I've never seen it that way. Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of not, it's not something that you want to spend too much time thinking about. You just kind of like, you kind of just live in the present. It's like I'm here. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love New York. I love Texas. And
I've never been to Texas, man, ever.
oh, you never been to Texas?
And no, and I've never really tasted Texas barbecue
Oh
before.
my God. You gotta go. You gotta
And
go. It'll
my
change
buddy
your
that
life.
moved, yeah, my buddy that lived in Austin, Texas, he's like, yo, man, you are missing out. You got to make the
So
trip out
what's
here.
going on
And
with all these people talking about actually moving from LA to Texas? Isn't that like supposed to be something that's going on right now?
well, obviously the front runner is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan made the big move to Austin. Yeah, so he's already in Austin, Texas. He's got a studio set up. He got that big deal with Spotify. Obviously, that triggers something. But the reason why people are moving is they're evicting people left and right. That's for sure. And the other thing too is Texas has fully opened their economy. And even though they're getting COVID spikes and they're doing this, but the mortality rate is really, really low in Texas. Apparently, hospitalizations are not very high. Apparently, like us, we're barely getting to that point. Hence, people like, fuck this. I can't survive here. I got to move the fuck out.
Yeah.
And they either go to, I've seen people go to Arizona. I've seen people go to Albuquerque, New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, and Utah, believe it or not. So what's the reason for it? It's all economy based. Oh, we just lost them. Come back in. All right. Well, we'll get him back in. Alex said, bro, real Mexican food is Ordóñez, 24-hour Mexican. Can't forget that place. Epic. I still love that place to this day. Out there in Sunland, Daniel's Tacos. Okay. Daniel's Tacos. I'm going to note that. All right. What else did you say? You said hearing him say LA people were friendly offends you. I was hoping to hear some honest shit like all the stereotype stuff and be cool with it. Well, the big stereotype that us LA people have is that it's funny that Kristian should mention that we're friendly, that we're well mannered. That's really surprising to me. I'm like, whoa, what? Because I've heard different things like we're passive. We punch first and ask questions later. We're taking time bombs or volcanoes. We're about to erupt. I've heard all this stuff about LA people, and I can't help but to say, well, yeah, you're right, because we're not very we're social when we want to be, but at the same time we're killers when we want to be. I hate to say it, man, because it's the damn truth, and it sucks. It sucks that that's kind of the lifestyle that we were raised on. But shit, man, it happens. And let me see. I'm gonna get a text here from from Kristian briefly. But regardless, yeah, and then driving the rideshare thing for a while, I really, really learned a lot about people from other states and how you know what I learned? I met a lot of people that are transplants here, and I don't know, man, it's weird. Like I used to pick people up in El Sereno City Terrace and talk to them about it. I'm like, yo, this is where I grew up. You know, what brings you here? And they all work at the Arts District. They all work in Echo Park. They all work in Silver Lake. And I'm like, oh, so this is what's happening. I'm like, okay. And then the whole gentrification topic comes up, and you know, a lot of these people are trust fund kids. You know, no fault to them. They inherited all this fucking money. They're going to buy a house. But my question is, why these specific areas? Like, what is it that attracted them to those specific areas? And it's very interesting to see that. But nonetheless, man, it's a lot of things are thought provoking. A lot of things are. And I remember one time I had this discussion with a person in rideshare. What did they say? We were talking about, I believe it was, I want to say it was the, we were talking about the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting. I remember that. And, hold on, what are you saying, Alex? On my dad's side of the family, the redneck half of me, Kentucky. Ooh, they look at us funny, but my cousins love their Mexican cousin. That is so weird that you're a Mexican redneck. You're a true Mexican redneck. I mean, I've always known that about you, but to me, you're always going to be a Montebelloan, dude. just like the rest of our class. We're a specific breed, which is interesting because there is no one like us. You know, you got your East LA peeps, you got your City of Commerce peeps, which are just different. You know, they were cool, but they were just different. They were more like misfits and stuff like that. And then you had your SGV people, which I later discovered were really fucking cool, man. That's why I moved to SGV, because I'm like, hey, this place is pretty cool. There's some pretty cool peeps out here. And then there was the great nation of Montebello. God, I could write a book, man. Yeah, I went to school there. I worked there for almost half my adult life. I technically haven't really left because I border SGV, Montebello. I like to say, I don't know, people like to argue different. But shit, man. Montebelloans, that's what we are, man. I mean, we're made. I mean, shit. I can definitely call myself that, because there's a quiz that I always tell people. I'm like, can you name the fast food joint that's on Whittier and Wilcox? And most people say Little Mexico right there by the car wash, but no, I don't consider that fast food technically. And rest in peace, Garduno's. And what the hell is Anthony? Why are you tagging Manny? Why are you tagging Manny, Anthony? See? And because of Anthony, there's not going to be no more MLB. Okay? I'm kidding, dude. I'm fucking with you. Miss you guys. Oh, my God. Oh, hello. My goodness. What brings you... What do I owe the pleasure to? Yes, Garduno's, man. You do know they shut that place down. It's gone. Fucking sucks, dude. Fucking sucks. And they had one down here in off of Del Mar and Potrero right there by that hood ass fucking Del Mar Inn hotel, and where Primo's Liquor is. But apparently that one has been closed for a long time. I think it was closed in the late 90s from what I was hearing. But nonetheless, it's like, holy shit. Okay. You have all these fucking Montebello monuments, man. I like to call it, because we even have one in Montebello for the Armenian genocide right by JNS, another landmark. And then we got Quiet and QC. So, okay, Jackman came back. Let's see. Let me try to add him. Wait, what did Manny say? Finally, I'm here to make the podcast a little more interesting. Ha, 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 ha. Thank you. Thank you for the color commentary. Thank you. And let's see. Kristian, you back.
Yo.
What happened?
This goddamn update to Catalina is kicking my ass.
Oh, man. No.
I swear.
Yeah, bro.
It's been like one thing after another, man. It's crazy.
No, I hear you, bro. I hear you 100%. You should know better too, man. Fuck. Don't update. I always like to say update. If they release it, like you get the notification, wait about 2-3 days, then do it. But don't set it to automatic.
Like 6 months.
Oh yes, if it's that long, then
It's been out for a while.
Yeah. Then yes, do it right away. I mean, fuck. Sometimes it's gonna kick you in the ass like it just did, but nonetheless, man, shit happens.
Yeah.
But no, it was actually funny. You should jump back in at the right time, because I was talking about different cities and stuff like that. But so driving rideshare, I was talking to someone, and you're going to answer this question freely. Give me your opinion. I was talking to this guy about, it was a Sandy Hook Elementary thing. And this guy was, he probably had like maybe 10 beers in him. He was ranting, and I can handle it. I mean, I can fancy the conversation, whatever. But he asked me this, and it resonated. I'm like, fuck, this would be a great fucking topic. I remember he asked me if someone you loved was killed in front of you, right? But if someone created a copy of them that was perfect right down to the atomic level, dude, like to every single atom, would they be the same person? And would you love them just as much? And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? So think about that. And he got pretty morbid because he was probably drunk. So hold on, I'm highlighting this dude. Okay, this dude Manny right here on the comments is the man right here. He is the Alhambra Vanwilder, is what I like to call him. You know who Vanwilder is?
Yeah, I know who Vanwilder is.
He said Bang Bus did not qualify as rideshare. Yes, it does. You are taking cars off the road, Manny. What is your problem? And pretty soon MTA. Oh, by the way, Kristian, MTA is going to be offering free fares pretty soon, man.
Like for life?
Yeah, I don't know how long, but I think with this whole, in the previous podcast, I talked about Prop 22 because I'm yes on 22 and all that shit. They're probably seeing opportunity on it, and they're like, okay, well, these rideshare companies are kind of in shambles and they have this much time, then we're going to introduce our new services now, because now they got this new driving service that you can basically drive their company cars for, get $16.46 an hour, get unionized with benefits, and then just drop people off and drive them around LA. Like there's a certain district that you drive them in, and you work a whole shift.
Interesting.
It's very interesting, but I mean, I know a lot of independent contractors are like, yo, man, it just doesn't affect rideshare. It affects the whole spectrum of 1099 work. And I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I looked at the specifics. I'm like, oh, okay, this is not good for the gig economy. Like, no.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So if someone you love was killed in front of you, but someone created a copy of them that was perfect, right down to
atomically
every atom, would you love them as much, and would they be the same person? That's what he told me.
Nah. I mean, love them as much, possibly, but be the same person? Nah.
No way.
Because experiences make people who they are. It's not like, you can create, unless you can't go back in time and make somebody, the year they were born and, and then raise them the same exact way. Times change and shit.
Right. Absolutely.
If you were born in the 90s, man, you fucking might have rainbow colored hair or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. I don't think so. Nah, I don't think that's possible.
But that's pretty crazy, though.
Yeah, you might love them the same just because you see them and they look like this person, but it's it's not that person. Nah, I don't think so.
But you ever seen that show Westworld?
Nah, I've heard it's pretty good though.
Okay, yeah, I think this is where this guy kind of got the idea for that question, and it deals with just that. They're basically considered hosts, and they're programmed to basically act like just like you and I, just like this. And they all have a quote unquote narrative of as to how they're going to live in a loop. So kind of like a purgatory type of concept. Only they're not real. It's artificial intelligence, but it's literally, they're made out of like human tissue to the atomic level. It's fucking crazy, but their skeletal remains is like fucking the T-1000, dude.
Shit.
It's wicked, bro. I won't spoil it more, man, because this series got deep, and I'm just like, fuck, man, that's crazy. It's really thought provoking, especially with the shit that this guy was telling me about. Because I've been asked a bunch of questions during rideshare, man, and like I've heard fucking chicks breaking up with their boyfriends in the back of the car. I've heard, I pick people up from the clinic just because they got diagnosed with an STD and they got to go get the meds at the pharmacy, dude. So fucked up shit, man.
Yeah,
but
I got stories. I always ask, other rideshare drivers, their craziest stories, man, and like I've never heard anything that just compares to the craziest shit that happens. Like, when I'm driving, man, I mean, it's wild, man. It's crazy. That's why, like, I would, my female friends and shit like that, they'll be like, hey, I'm thinking about doing Uber or Lyft, man. And I tell them like not to do it, because that shit is,
man.
It can get like scary real quick. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and I'm not even like instantly, because the minute they see you in the car, and that is Dunsville, man. It's like, oh shit. That's why I made it a point to make sure my picture was presentable, and I got a lot of compliments saying, "Oh, you look just like the picture." I'm like, well, yeah, that was the whole point. And I made sure. I kid you not, man. I hit like 10,000 rides and not one bad review. It was a straight 5.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, not one, bro. And I had one time I thought, I'm like, oh, this bitch is gonna give me a bad review, man. It's because I use Waze to get around LA. She uses Apple Maps, and she's like, well, Apple Maps is telling me this. I'm like, it's the same route.
Yeah.
Waze is programmed to do this. I'll just go with Waze. She goes, well, can you use Apple Maps? And I'm like, I can. I'm like, but and this is the Laurel Canyon drop. I call it the shit world, because it looks like a fucking poop going down. Yeah, bro. And I'm like, hey, I don't care what map we're using, we're not gonna go any faster. And just because her map said it was a 2-minute difference, something like that. Yeah. But mine was like way faster, and and she had. I'm like, okay, because she was a publicist for Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, this and that. I'm like, I don't care. My job is just to get you there safely. I didn't tell her this, obviously,
Right.
but I'm like, I'm going to get you there safely. You're going to make it on time. Because she was late. I'm like, well, it ain't my fault, bitch, that you fucking
They be
got out
tripping.
late.
Like, yeah. Yeah, I picked up this girl, and you know she was tripping because she was late to the airport. And I'm like, all right, you leave at 4 o'clock to get to LAX by. I think her plane was leaving at like 5 or something like that. I was like, that's pretty stupid. You know what I'm saying? and that's the thing. Though,
At
like,
4 p.m. and at 4 o'clock and her shit leaves at 5.
Yeah, and you know, I've gotten into it with so many riders and kicked so many damn people out. Like, I don't play that shit. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna have me driving crazy. You know, it's just.
You know what's crazy is a congestion kind of story that I have is, I don't know if you went through this, but when you drop off people at LAX, but this one was during, I think, Thanksgiving weekend. And you cannot get through at all.
Yeah.
Through the terminal ways, you cannot. You people literally got out of the car and just walked
Exactly.
all the way up to the terminals because that was the only way in there. And I'm thinking, shit, man, like, what the fuck? Ain't no one catching their fucking planes unless they start walking and running right now. And that shit was crazy, man.
After they did the new drop off and shit, it got a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really digging that because it's like all you got to do is post up and then boom, there you are. And but fuck, man, like, okay, you know what was my number one, and this is a secret. You probably know about it, but I always tell all my rideshare buddies, like, hey, if you really kind of want to go back to back rides and maybe get a long one from there, post up at USC at the campus. On frat row, fraternity row, right there where all the frat houses are, right. Just immediately, the minute you hit, you go online and you hit, I think it's 28th, 28th Street. Boom, it'll pop up, dude.
Yeah. And
usually it's to and from, like you pick them up from the Vons or the Ralphs, right? Then you take them back to the apartments. What's that one? The fucking student housing that's in the corner by the Popeyes right there. I forgot what it's called. I always forget. The Orsini, not the Orsini's. I don't know, but I had everything bookmarked, and that was one of them. And yo, man, I made the mistake one time of going during pledge week, like for the frats, and these little girls are coming in the car that were not supposed to be in my car. So I'm like, oh shit. They're like, no, we're just going around the corner. I'm like, you better get the fuck out of my car. I'm giving you 5 minutes. And I went around. I'm like, you guys got to get out. Because one of them was about to vomit. Never had an incident in my car being dirty like that.
You've never had somebody throw up in your car? Oh, man.
Nobody. The minute I seen them, if I knew, I mean, I could spot a drunk, blindly, man.
Man, I had so many people throw up in my car that it was like I could start to tell when people were gonna throw up. When they were walking towards the car, I could tell if the person was gonna throw up or not. That's how many people I've had.
Fucking shit, man.
This motherfucker's gonna throw up. Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking humans, man. Crazy.
I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody throw up in my car, man. I had this lady peed in my car one time.
No, she did not.
I swear to God. I picked them up at I think it was called BJ's. BJ's Brewery. Yeah. And he gets in the car, she gets in the car, and as soon as she gets in the car, she opens the door and throws up like outside of the car. She kind of opened the door and was just like, what? You know what I'm saying? And so I knew, I was like, fuck, man. She's either gonna throw up again or some crazy shit's gonna happen, right? So I tell the dude, I'm like, look, man, you might want to take your wife inside, take her to the bathroom, make sure she's all right before y'all take this ride, because if she throws up in here, it's expensive. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh no, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, they got to be like in their, they're older too. They're like in their 50s, you know, mid 50s.
Oh
You know
no.
what I'm saying?
Oh shit.
And so we start driving. I give them a throw up bag. I'm like, if she needs to throw up, make sure she throws up in this bag. So we start driving, and she, sure enough, throws up, and he opens the bag, and she's throwing up like in his lap in the bag, right? And he's like,
Oh no.
so he starts going, ooh, like, and he says
Oh
the smell.
no.
Her throw up is about to make him throw up. So he rolls down the window, but he doesn't throw up, right? And so I get them to their house, and they have this freaking huge mansion, right?
Wow.
And as they get out of the car, she can't walk, so she like flops out of the car. She starts like sliding on her belly like a snake up the driveway, right? And so the guy's like,
Oh
shit.
shit.
He's like, shit, I forgot my keys, right? And I'm like, I'm fucking sorry for you. And so I drive off, right? But I don't drive off too far. I probably drove like maybe a couple houses down, you know, under this street light, so I could check the car and make sure that there's no vomit in the car. And so I look, and I see this big ass wet spot on my back seat. And so I had cloth seats, right? And so there's big ass wet spot.
Shit, dude.
And I'm like, man, thinking that's a little bit too much moisture to be some ass sweat, because she was a big girl, right? And so
no, dude.
I open all the car. So I open the car door, and the light comes on or whatever, and I had the little rubber weather mats or whatever, and this big ass puddle of liquid on the weather mats, and I'm like, oh, this bitch is in my goddamn car, man.
No.
I swear to God. And so,
what
craziest
the
part
fuck, man?
The craziest part was, so you take the picture, you send it into to Uber or whoever, and at the time they were giving you $250 cleaning fee, right?
Yeah.
And so they gave me the cleaning fee, and it turns out that those people weren't even the ones that called the Uber. It was a friend of theirs that called the Uber for them.
Oh, shit.
So the friend starts like blowing up my phone the next day, like, oh, this can't be right. Like, blah, 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 what happened? And I'm like, yo, you need to talk to your people, man. This bitch pissed in my goddamn car. That shit is crazy. The fucking shit people do, man.
Fuck, man. That is great.
Too, man.
Yeah.
I've never been that fucked up that I can't, like, fucking control my bowels, you know what I'm saying? Or fucking,
yeah, me neither.
In somebody's car.
And even like if I felt like I'm about to vomit, I force vomit to get it out.
Yeah.
That way I know, like, I've mastered the art of that shit. Yeah, it's like, okay, if I know I've had too much, and okay, well, let me get some out of my system, because it doesn't belong in there. It's just it's too much.
Yeah.
But these people, I mean, fuck, who knows? They probably had like 3 drinks and they're like that.
She was fucked up.
Damn, son. Let me ask you this. Bro, let me ask you this though. Okay, and this is the minute this happened, I'm just like, you motherfuckers, man. So I go to SC. I pick up this gay couple, right? But whatever. But it looks like one of them backpacking kind of gay couples. They're kind of like couch hopping or whatever. And they're in the back seat, and every time, like any couple, gay or straight, whatever, they're in the back seat, and I see one go like this, like that, like lay down on the lap. I'm like, okay, you are not doing any of that shit in my fucking car. And well, he was just laying down, whatever, but he was facing me, and I could see him. And all of a sudden, he starts asking me questions, and he says, "Oh, bad news bears," and I'm like, what? And then I smell it, bro. That fart he laid in my fucking car, bro, smelled like
he hotboxed you.
Like trash day on a Friday morning, dude.
Wow.
Yes.
Kick him out?
And no, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna let that one slide. I'm like, but don't be surprised if I return the favor. I go, I ain't rolling the windows down.
Lock that
and
shit.
They're like, no, it's I'm sorry. We'll tip you. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
That I'm like, all right, cool. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, man, but I've had someone burp in my face too, and I straight up told them, hey, don't do that, please.
Yeah. The worst is like when you pick somebody up after they just got done eating like Korean barbecue or some shit like that, and they're all like fucking, or they had like a steak dinner or whatever, and they're just like belching, and you smell the meat in the fucking car.
Yeah. And then the garlic, the onion, all that stuff. It's like, God. But you know what's even worse, dude? When you're hungry, right? You're like, all right, after this ride, I'm gonna fucking log off. And these motherfuckers come in with tacos and shit. You're like, oh, fuck you, man. Like, no. And then one time by LA City College, I picked up this little Filipino lady, real cute lady, old, right? She brought in a fish, bro, in the car. And she warned me like, hey, I have a fish. It's a bit stinky. And I'm like, we'll just have the windows down. She's like, okay. But for some reason, the stench was still there. So I had to go to, to those drive-in car washes where you do everything yourself and shit. And then just vacuum what I could and then just spray the motherfucker. And I'm like, the thing is I know rideshare companies like you to have a neutral smell for your car. But this one did not deserve a fucking neutral smell. I'm like, man, I'm going to spray this shit with Lysol. Fuck all y'all. Yeah. No way, man. It's like, man. And luckily, here's the other thing. I've never had anyone fight in my car. I don't know if that's ever happened to you.
I never had...
Either argue or get physical.
No, I've had arguments, but I've never had anybody get physical. But like, I shut that shit down like real fast. Because if you sit there quiet, then they think that they could, just fucking argue and get on however in the back of the car. But I'm like, y'all need to chill out with that shit.
I'm gonna cancel this fucking ride and drop you off in the middle of the fucking street.
So you've never kicked anybody out your car before?
I have. I kicked out one person because he started talking shit about black people to me.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Yeah, dog. And I don't know what. I get it, bro. I'm a Mexican vanilla, bro. But I grew up in a diverse. You know where I'm from, dude. And to me, like we were just having this conversation not too long ago. I didn't discover racism until like 1991, bro. before the Rodney King riots, believe it or not. Yeah. Because I was playing basketball at a summer camp with all my friends, and we're a diverse bunch. It was me, it was another Mexican that was darker than me, same fucking ancestry. We had the token Korean guy, and then my black homies that are from LA, dude. Fuck, the freeway's right there. Cal State LA had a badass summer camp. We all went, and then these white boys from fucking Anaheim came to play ball with us from a different summer camp, and that was the first time I ever heard someone call me a spick.
Wow. Yeah,
I didn't know what it was, dog. So I was like, I'm like, what the fuck was he calling me? Like, what does that mean? And then I seen. I never forget my friend's name. His name was Sir Friley, bro. That was his name. Sir Friley and Dante. They looked at me like peeled, bro, like eyes peeled, like, hey, you ain't gonna do nothing about that? And I'm like, well, I don't know what that means. And then they explained it like, yo, he just threw a racial slur at you. And I'm like, oh, he did? And then I heard it again, bro, because they were balling our asses up because we were just like, okay. I knew what their game was. They were trying to get in our head so we could lose the game. Right. And then finally, I'm like, as soon as this is when I discovered racism. As soon as they dropped an N-bomb, I'm like, okay, these motherfuckers. Okay, this is how it is. All right, cool. I started throwing elbows. Yeah. I started fucking posting up and getting hip to the fucking groin, all this shit, bro. I was like, fuck you, man, like you racist piece of shit. So fast forward, right? I picked this dude up. He's wearing a MAGA hat. Okay, he's wearing a MAGA hat. Cool. I'm like, oh, all right, whatever the fuck his name is. I'm like, all right, well, I picked him up in Pacific Palisades. And he was going to
a MAGA hat in Pacific Palisades.
Yeah, a MAGA hat in Pacific Palisades.
I haven't seen.
He had a briefcase on him.
Yet.
there's a reason why. And I think, I'm not sure. I seen a video surface about someone getting their ass kicked in Hollywood, at Hollywood and Highland, and they kind of resembled that dude, but I can't prove that it was him. But I dropped him off there by Musicians Institute. And, well, initially when I first picked him up, he's like, "You're not going to say anything about my hat?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "You're an odd fella." And I'm like, "Fella?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm like, nice hat, whatever."
Right.
Like, it's a fucking red hat with Times New Roman that says "Make America Great Again." What's the big fucking deal? I go, "Where's it made? Is it made in China?" And he didn't like that because the tag clearly said "Made in China."
Right.
And he's like, "So what political party are you affiliated with?" And I'm like, I'm a political orphan. I'm sorry." He goes, "You are?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I think it's all bullshit." I'm like, I'm not a Kool-Aid drinker like a lot of people.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah.
And he was trying to school me. He's a political science major, and he just graduated, getting his master's in, I don't know. He was trying to become an attorney, and he wanted to be the first real conservative attorney in LA to make a difference and really change things up. And that part, I'm like, okay, cool. I get your drift, man. You're trying to do your own. You're trying to do you. Cool, whatever. And then he starts asking me about my background. I'm like, "Where you from?" I'm like, "I'm born and raised in LA. Like, I was born at LA USC Medical Center, General Hospital, a ghetto ass hospital right there by the train tracks." She's like, "Oh, were you given up for adoption?" That's the fucking thing he told me next.
Right.
Right. I'm like, "No." I'm like, I still keep a relationship with my mom. He goes, "What about your father?" I'm like, "I don't know my biological father, unfortunately." He goes, "Oh, that explains it." And I'm like,
What the fuck?
That explains what?" And I'm at a red light. I'm like, "That explains what?" I'm looking at him in the rear view. And he's like, "No, that explains, like, you're a political orphan, because you really didn't have a father figure growing up to show you, like, what America's all about." And I'm like, "Well, what if my dad, hypothetically speaking, was not down with all this, gung-ho MAGA shit, and, he was an immigrant, because that's what my mom is." He goes, "Your mom's here illegally?" And I'm like, "Yo, man, no, she's not." And, I don't wish to discuss anything further about my life.
Right.
I'm like, "You can change the subject if you want."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, we can cancel this ride and you can get the fuck out."
Real.
And he goes, no, I need to get to where I need to go." I'm like, "Okay." I'll go, "Well, you made it a Q&A, then I'll dance with you." I'm like, "I ain't got nothing else to do." And then he apologized, surprisingly. He goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My girlfriend's Latina too, but she's, Latinos for Trump and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Do you, man. That's all good."
Yeah.
I told him, I go, "It's the evangelism that I have a problem with all sorts, and it's supremacy I have a problem with of all sorts." I'm like, there's that everywhere. Doesn't matter what skin color you are. I'm like, supremacy, evangelism is evangelism. It doesn't matter. I go, two heads of the same fucking snake. And he's like, "Well, what snake?" Like, he was already interrogating him. Like, "There's no snake here. The reason why the Trump administration is they're trying to save America, and the Chinese," like, he went on this weird ass rant, and then he started talking shit about QAnon. How I don't know if you kept up with QAnon, whatever. Like, it's basically like Scientology for rednecks, bro. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's crazy. They believe in some really, really interesting stuff. And then he started taking jabs at me, like, "Oh, you're not for the First Amendment or Second." I'm like, "I'm for both." I'm like, I have no problem.
He asked you, or he just...
Yeah, no, he was trying to make reference, like, "Oh yeah, you believe in censorship." I'm like, "No." I'm like, "You have every right to exercise your First Amendment right. Doesn't mean it doesn't come with consequences."
Right.
Right? I'm like, same thing with the Second Amendment. Just because you can exercise your Second Amendment doesn't mean someone's gonna clap at you back. Right. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, there's rules in place. There's rules of engagement too. And he was basically how this ride ended. And I had to drop him off at the Hollywood Bowl. That's how far we got, because I was, I maneuvered, whatever. And there wasn't that much traffic, but I'm coming from Pacific Palisades. And he said, and I quote, "I don't understand why these people keep wearing their pants like that." And I'm like, what people? I'm like, yeah, I don't get why these people. And he starts pointing at them. I'm like, you talking about those black people? He's like, yeah, I don't know why they wear the pants. I'm like, well, where have you been for the past 10, 15, 20 years? Yeah. And he's like, I think it's disgusting. I think they're demoralizing? I think they have no, like, he started just taking jabs, and I stopped the car in front of these cats, bro. And I'm like, look, you can either cancel the ride yourself and get the hell out, or I'll cancel it and you're still going to get the fuck out. And I'm going to drop you off in front of these guys wearing that MAGA hat.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where, like, okay, I actually physically got out and had to let him out. Right. He said, you're going to drop me off in front of these NIGGERS.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, turn on the hazards. I calmly took off my seatbelt. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I went calm, dude. And I opened the door. I wanted to get his ass and just boom. Right. But I'm like, you need to exit my car right now.
Yeah, for real.
Obviously, dude, I'm 6'3", bro. He saw me. He's like, oh, shit. I didn't think he was that big. And then he gets out, but he takes off his hat and he hides it, bro. And he's walking around like that.
Of course.
And, homies are like, oh, like, hey, trying to get a ride. I'm like, hey, you got to book it, son. Sorry. and they're, I'm like rapping with them, whatever, because they see that I'm getting this guy out. And they knew something was up, whatever, because, the hot dog ladies right outside, and Hollywood Bowl season was already popping. And because they sell T-shirts outside, trying to get their hustle on, right? Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I just had to kill this ride, man. And he's like, what? And I'm like, check out his hat, bro. You might want to check it out. But yeah, it was one of those, like, god damn. I'm like, people like this exist in LA, bro? I mean, even Pacific Palisades? What the fuck, man? Like, no, dude.
I haven't really experienced any kind of racism in LA. Not yet. I think the most racist place I've ever lived was New York, by far. And then Texas.
I believe Texas, but New York, bro, really?
That's the crazy thing. Everybody says that, everyone thinks that,
that's weird.
And Texas would be the most racist place, but as far as my experience, New York was the most racist place that I've ever
What part of New York, though?
I lived in Long Island. I lived in Brooklyn. But
I know Long Island for sure.
Yeah,
I can imagine Long Island. Brooklyn, surprisingly, why?
Yeah.
That's so bizarre, man. That's like racism in Jamaica, Queens or some shit, dude. And dude, I've never been to New York, man, and it's been my dream to go. I gotta take my son. I gotta take my family there, because my son. Yeah, my son keeps playing Mario Odyssey on his Nintendo Switch, and they modeled a level over old school New York, dude.
Oh, okay.
Where everyone was wearing, like, the trench coats and the hats and playing jazz and all this shit. And he loves it. But I had to show him, like, well, New York's a little bit more colorful than that now. He said, but he noticed the Empire State Building. He said, is that still there? I'm like, yes. I go, I will take you there. And I was like, damn, dude. And my nephew just moved there. He moved to, I think the Lower East Side or Upper East Side of Manhattan. I can't recall. But we haven't heard from him, dude. I think he's he's hooked on the lifestyle, dude, because that's how they roll, man.
Yeah.
Because come on, you go from San Francisco to New York, it's two different worlds, dude.
Yeah, I thought San Francisco kind of reminded me of New York a little bit. When,
it's just filthy, bro. Nah, San Francisco's so bad.
Yeah.
What'd you think of San Fran?
I liked it.
Yeah, it's cool, bro. It's a beautiful city.
Yeah, I had fun.
Minus all the heroin addicts and transients that are taking shits in front of you, bro.
Yeah, man. I actually found this on Ocean Beach. Like, there's like this cave. I don't know if you have any idea what I'm talking about.
What the fuck?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's pretty trippy. I was smoking a joint on the beach, man.
Yeah.
I just noticed this.
Oh yeah, we all do that, obviously. Yeah.
And these rocks, man, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Is that a cave? So I fucking go up to it, and and sure enough, it was. But it was dark. It was dark as fuck, man. So I was like, low key, kind of scared to go in there. So I was like, all right. And so I had my phone like recording, right? And I was like, I'm just gonna run through that shit real quick, and if everything's all good, then I'll come back and like and take my time. And so I like ran through that shit mad quick, and then I just like there's like it's like you go in like this big giant like mouth of the cave, and then like you walk out the other side, and it's just like like the beach is like right in front of you, and it's like this real kind of
no shit, dude.
Yeah. But when you actually walk in the cave, there was there was a whole bunch of like graffiti all over the cave walls.
Right in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, on Ocean Beach.
Yeah, Ocean Beach, right?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah,
I many a times I've been up there. I just don't recall any of the times I've been there.
Yeah, I actually I put the video on my YouTube.
Oh shit!
Way back.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
Send the link. Send it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy,
dude. So, one thing about, I guess the whole rideshare thing, I didn't know it was different in different cities too, man. I didn't know that, because I was chatting. There's like a Reddit subgroup for drivers. I don't know if you've checked that shit out, dude. It's funny as hell. But they're surprised as to how many 5-star drivers there are in LA, because apparently New York Uber drivers get really shitty fucking ratings, bro.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I didn't know that, and I'm like, I keep chiming in. I'm like, it's just the weather, man. I'm like, you guys have horrible winters, and then the summers, like maybe in the fall might get better. They're like, nah, fuck that. These motherfuckers, they come in with their fucking coffee, they spill all over my fucking car, and I'm like, dude, coffee stains, bro. No, with their Dunkin' and their bullshit, and all of them smell like sweat and regret. I was like, fuck, dude. It's funny as hell, but it's like, God, like they're a whole different animal in New York. They're a whole different animal in Denver, bro. Yeah. Because all of them smoke while driving, and it's like, it's no thing, dude. And I'm like, I don't want to get picked up by some dude that just had like, 3 fucking, wax hits and shit in a row. I'm like, man, you gonna get me lost, or we gonna go like 5 miles an hour on the fucking freeway and shit. Yeah.
And they gotta like, they need special licenses and all kinds of shit, just to drive out there.
It's so crazy that, like even the ordinance, man, that's why this whole thing with Proposition 22, it's like huge, man, because AB 5 passed last September of 2019. And now if Prop 22 passes, then that just, if it passes, then it'll repeal AB 5, which is great. Now everyone can just work 1099. Gig economy it just doesn't skip a beat. But the ones that get affected a lot are the independent contractors for the transport, jobs, like the truck drivers and stuff like that. Because I didn't even know, dude, there's a lot of truck drivers that just own their own shit and get contracted to do it. I didn't know that. They're like, no, not everyone wants to work union, because we we're our own boss and we make our own business, just like, just like a Lyft driver would.
Yeah.
You decide your own schedule, you whatever. And then if it doesn't pass, then, you're going to find yourself like, fuck, either A, it's going to leave California, or two, it's going to fucking, it's going to be like Amazon Flex. I don't know if you've ever seen Amazon Flex. No. Amazon Flex, you have to choose a schedule. And you got to work the entire schedule. You can't stop.
What the fuck is that?
Only for like a 15-minute break. Yeah, so it's no, well, Amazon Flex, what they do is you use your own car to deliver small packages. Okay. Like the same day. I mean, the biggest package I've seen is probably the size of like, the interfaces. They come in those boxes. Mm-hmm. That's as big as I've seen, or like a little monitor or whatever. Nothing over like 25 pounds or something like that. Mm-hmm. But they give you like a bunch of them, so you have to play Tetris in your trunk and then just go, and then you get it delivered. There's times where the app works good. There's times where the app works okay, and then there's times where it's just shitty. And there's times where you show up, you get a shift, but you get there, they're like, oh, there's no packages for you to deliver, so you can log off, but you'll just get paid for the rest, the entire shift. So that's pretty badass. But it's like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I've recommended it to some people, but since Amazon is not a unionized like kind of environment, kind of like Lyft and Uber, obviously, I'm telling people, man, you guys might want to check out the Metro job, because even I'm like, okay, maybe I might want to do that part time, dude, because it's supplemental income. You get benefits as well. You can keep your full time job that you have, or you could do it full time and still kick ass at it. And then they have 1-step increases where. That's how unions work. You pay dues, obviously, but you get a pay increase, I think, every 6 to 12 months, passing probation or whatever. Right. And that's badass, dude, because I'm sure you'll get the equal amount of fucking assholes and, horror stories that you get with rideshare. But, yeah, man, that's fucking crazy, dude. Fucking crazy.
I'm trying to stay away from rideshare right now, with this whole COVID shit, man. It's not worth it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I stopped driving in March. I don't know if you've done it.
Me too. Same thing. Was it March?
Yeah. Right after.
I stopped in April.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I caught fucking something like in February too.
I'm sure I did too, man. I'm sure I did too, because I was feeling shit that I'd never felt. Like I never get like shortness of breath and shit. So I was like what the fuck is this, man?
Yeah, see, a lot of rideshare drivers are saying that shit, and this is like I remember the week after Kobe died. That's when a lot of drivers are starting to complain about, fuck, like I have this fucking nasty ass cough and I can't breathe and it's dry. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, just stay your ass home, dude. And but a lot of these guys, obviously, they've dealt with pandemics before in their in their countries, whatever they come from. Especially the guys from Hong Kong, the guys from Taiwan, the guys from mainland China. They're like, no, and they'll wear masks while they're driving. Right. And us, we're just like, what the fuck are you wearing a mask for while you're driving? Yeah. And they're like, no, it's just so to prevent the spread. And I'm like, spread of what? He goes, whatever you have. He's like, if you have the flu, you should do the same thing. And it had dawned on me. I'm like, okay. And then boom, the mask mandate comes around. I'm like, oh shit, dude, this guy was right. Because the LAX gangs, rideshare gangs, as you would know, you've seen those restrooms, bro, all the tagging. Mm-hmm. When you wait in the area, you go in there, you see how the Surge gang, whatever. It's like, what the fuck is this? Is interesting. They were all the ones that kind of called it ahead of time. And dude, picking up people from LAX, that was COVID central, man. Nobody suspected it, man. Yep. People were flying in and out of different parts from Italy, China, Spain, France, all that. Mm-hmm. In and out, just picking them up at the lot. Boom.
Yeah, I was tripping.
Nobody knew, man. Nobody knew.
Coughed or sneezed in my car, man. Like I would start getting like fucking hot, and like my neck would start itching. And something just like, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is fucking early on too, man. I the fucking masks and shit like that. And I wasn't really wearing them because this is like back in like late January, early February. I was still kind of like, I don't want to be just riding around with these masks on. But then like, shit started hitting, man, and got used to that real quick.
Yeah, man. That now, now we're here, and apparently now. We've had a significant amount of testing, but like the positive tests are really low, and I've seen the line go down lower and lower. And shout out to the Citizen app because I use it. I think you do too, right?
What is that?
Oh man, you got to get on this app. It's pretty cool. The only thing is just don't enable contact tracing. I disabled that shit because I don't know, just for my own fucking amusement. Mm-hmm. It basically alerts you of any crime, fires, any kind of like incidents in your area, like your surrounding areas. And it's basically like a big neighborhood watch, bro. And then if you catch something, you go live, you take a video and you share it so people can see it. If they're driving that in that direction, they go around it or they turn around, whatever. Gotcha. Yeah, it's so trippy. I'm just like, dude, they have apps like this. This is fucking crazy. Like this shit. If I would have had this invention, this idea like 3-4 years ago, man, we'd be doing this podcast in the studio in Austin, Texas or some shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man, that's crazy. I can't believe he actually moved down. Well, I can believe it. I just wonder like if he's actually gonna come back to LA at some point.
He's gonna keep the studio in LA, obviously, because that was a new facility he built. Okay. But I think what he's going to do is, because he can't do comedy in LA, and Texas is fully open. So, okay, he's, they're going to roll in Texas and see how it goes. But I think the Spotify deal is kind of also what inspired the move, because that was a fat deal that he got with Spotify. So, and that's a deal that, fuck, man, like you're exclusively on one app and you're getting that much money. Where am I moving to? Fucking Iceland. Cool. Boom. Build a studio, move the fam.
But he's still putting the videos on YouTube, right?
No, he's not going to put them on there. That's the crazy part.
So can you?
Everything is going to be on the Spotify app.
So there's.
And of course the web browser. What's that?
There's going to be video too, or no?
Yeah, because Spotify's got video podcasts too. Okay. As a matter of fact, I mean, it's only a matter of time before this website that I use, because you get to stream to LinkedIn, Facebook profile, Facebook page, YouTube. Like I actually paid for the annual subscription, and you get to design your own overlay. You get to put names. You get to put fucking different things. And with my, basic subscription, I could broadcast it 3 different channels. If you upgrade to Pro, I think it's up to 8 or some shit. Okay. But, I do it so it's accessible to different people. Like, for example, Instagram Live is so shitty. Right. So shitty. I don't know what they got going on there, but it's all mobile based. You can't get in front of a computer or a MacBook Pro or a laptop that has a webcam and do this. You have to do it from your phone strictly, and everything's vertical, and they limit you to 1 hour. That's it.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, they cut you off after the hour, then you have to go live again. It's a pain in the ass, man, and it's like, fuck. You got to find an alternative, and then what I do with these podcasts is I go live. Then I pick the segments and I put those on Instagram TV, because Instagram TV allows up to 1 hour, maximum of like 2 gigabytes or something like that, of upload to your Instagram TV. But you have to do it from a Mozilla Firefox browser or a Safari browser. You cannot do it from Chrome. That's the fucking trippy part. Yeah. So, so a lot of people do live streams here. They use Lightstream. I think they're using Zoom, all this shit, but it's like a lot of people are having webinars, they're having tutorials, they're having podcasts like this. It's like, dude, you got to kind of cover your grounds with all this shit, because this is kind of how we've been doing it. And now that we've all learned how to do it and we all go back to work, now there's that option, like, oh, maybe I can work from home. I don't have to be at the office 2-3 days a week, whatever.
That's so funny.
It's a hybrid, bro.
It's like everybody's like thank God for the internet, man. It's like everybody is, especially during a time like this, man. Like there's so much more like commerce online now, like than ever. I mean, like every girl has a freaking like OnlyFans page now and shit. And like, it's like they're like, fuck it, I need to get this money, man. They don't give a fuck.
They do too, man. And I've been hit up by, not the girls, but the boyfriends of the girls on Instagram. They're like, hey, what webcam should you get? And I'm like, get this one and make sure it shoots at 1080.
Yeah.
But I get it, bro. I get it.
It's crazy, right?
And now all I want is a fans only, like an OnlyFans account. For like the secret to fucking getting rich or some shit with like Tony Robbins or Joe Rogan, bro.
Right.
Like, tell me, how do I do this shit? Like, fuck, am I doing it wrong? Like, or like fans only where you just chat with all these fucking famous ass fucking people, like MMA fighters, or virtual smoke session with Nate Diaz or some shit.
Yeah.
That would be cool. And I mean, I'm sure the subscription would be fucking expensive, but people will shell out that fucking money just to drink whiskey with Conor McGregor or smoke a joint with Nate, or talk about the woke mob with fucking Masvidal or whatever. But yeah, man, it's so fucking crazy. Damn, how long have I been on for? See, I've been on an hour and 36 minutes. Check that out.
Yeah.
Tell you what, dude, because I usually go a little over an hour. Now that we got this shit dialed down with your settings, let's run you back again on. Let's do maybe Monday.
Yeah, that's
Monday
cool.
or Tuesday. Yeah, but this time, if you can, man, gather up all of your Lyft, Uber, whatever rideshare you were driving. I know you were doing like 2 at one point. Gather whatever stories you want to fucking talk about, and I'm gonna try. I know you got a lot, dude. Bro, that we'll make it a rideshare nightmare stories fucking podcast, bro.
I should write a book, so yeah.
Bro, let's do it, and then we'll link up. That way we can I could promote it, because this is kind of last minute, but everyone's been wanting to hear shit like that. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make an exclusive kind of like centric on rideshare, because everyone's interested to hear. But hey, nonetheless, man, it was great catching up with you, bro.
Yeah, you too.
Great catching up. I know we had some technical difficulties.
You look like you're doing good, man.
No, I'm all right, man. I mean, obviously you're doing good. You could always do better, because that's always the satisfaction is the death of desire, is what I like to say. But yeah, man, let's link up next week. I'll DM you, and then we'll make it happen.
All right, brother. Stay safe.
Stay safe and stay away from all the troublemakers, bro.
Peace out, everybody.
All right, peace.